Algenoy Alexander. I've known Algenoy for many, many years. I was blessed to meet him at Northern Illinois University my freshman year, and I believe you were a sophomore when I was a freshman. But Algenoy has always exuded confidence and was always an amazing presence on campus. He was a leader on campus, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and just an all-around amazing person. So when I had to look for a speaker, I'm like, who would I want for our very first ever scholarship banquet to bless you all with their presence? And of course, I had to pick my man, Algenoy. So without further ado, Algenoy Alexander. You want to change it now? Or you want to change it?
You can change it. Repeat after me. Dreams can become reality. Now, before I even get started, I'm going to step out here for a second. Can you all, well, let me step out here. So, I know how it is to get up and speak after people have eaten, right? And I've eaten myself. So, we have to have an agreement. Do you all agree to give me the energy required to share my story with you all today? Yes or yes? Yes. Good deal. I once had this friend. His name was Brian. Brian was incredibly smart. He was a great athlete. He was charismatic. He was what you would call a triple threat, one of the coolest people that I knew. Yet, Brian had an insecurity. Raise your hand if you may have an insecurity in your life. Of course, right? Many of us do. Well, Brian developed an amazing strategy in order to deal with his particular insecurity. And his insecurity was that he had really thick bifocal glasses. And he developed a strategy that many a master teacher has used over the centuries. It's one that many of us may have employed in our own individual lives. He begged his parents for contacts. Now, after years and years of begging his mother for contacts, one day he walked in and his mother had the contacts waiting for him. Imagine how he felt that day, right? I remember he took them out and he did a b-boy stance. He's flashing himself in the mirror, right? And then he had the ingenious idea to say, you know what? Let's go to the basketball court and play basketball. So we went to the basketball court, and I remember like it was yesterday. He did a crossover, wrapped the ball behind his back, almost broke the guy's ankle. As he's going up for a layup, bow! He gets hit right in the head. And I'm knowing what happened. He lost not one, but two contacts. Now, imagine how I felt as his good friend, knowing how important those contacts were for him. So I did what any good friend would do. I helped on the basketball court, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours later, came up empty-handed, right? Now, raise your hand if you ever had that feeling of having to go home to your parents, knowing what was waiting for you. He had that little slow shuffle and walk. And because I was his friend and I had a level of empathy, I had the same thing. I did the same little slow walk, just like he did. And then we finally got to his house. And his mother immediately, with that look that mothers have, immediately knew something had happened. Where are the contacts? I think they're on the basketball court. Show me where you dropped them. She beelined out the door. We ran. We followed her. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, not 2 hours, but 2 minutes later, she's holding not one, but two contacts. Now, at this point, we're looking at her a little bit embarrassed because we couldn't find them, but also with a little bit of admiration because we couldn't believe she found something by herself that we couldn't collectively find. So we asked her, how did you possibly find them? She said, you all were looking for 2 pieces of plastic, some contacts. I was looking for $1,500. You see, when you value something, when you pay the cost, you treat it a lot different. I learned something that day. I realized that I thought that Brian receiving those contacts was his dream coming true. But what I realized was that him getting those contacts was really the dream coming true for his mother, who had to figure out how to come up with the resources in the midst of paying for his lodging, in the midst of paying for his education, in the midst of paying for his basketball practices, right? She had to figure it out, and she wasn't going to lose those contacts for anyone, even Brian. Repeat after me. Dreams can become reality. Today is really a dream come true for me, and I'm really appreciative. And I would like to thank several people. First of all, I'd like to thank Molina Healthcare of Illinois for helping my dream come true today, which is to speak life into all that I come in contact with. It is because of your consistent investment in what is the most important thing that you can invest in: human capital, which is people, and education. And this investment will go much further than any investment possible. You're investing in individuals who will not only bring themselves up, they will impact their families, and then the community, and ultimately the world. So give Molina Healthcare of Illinois a round of applause, please. Next, I would like to thank those individuals who are in the room today who are living your dreams through these scholarship recipients. The people who really allow them to live their dreams. Raise your hand if we have any part-time chauffeurs or taxi drivers in here, right? Part-time amateur chefs, part-time coaches who know exactly what to say when the students are about to give up, right? Knowing exactly what to say to help these young people receive their championship. So what I want to happen is I want the scholarship recipients, please stand up for me. I know it's your day, but I want you all to give a round of applause to your village. Thank you. Last but definitely not least, you all can have a seat. I would like to thank tonight's scholarship recipients. I looked over your applications. I looked over the information, and I learned a lot from you. And for that, I'd like to say thank you. I've learned that we can do the improbable, overcome any obstacle, take all the wishes on your wish list and make them possible. I've learned that impossible doesn't exist except in the mind of the limited. And we're lifting those limits and crashing through those ceilings that were made by the haters and middlemen. See, if I've learned anything, I've learned that you can tutor the youth while wearing pink and green. Who says you can't serve while throwing up your pinky ring finger? Some were inspired by parents who couldn't speak the language. Now they serve to bring unity for you and me, while others raise the awareness of breast cancer in the community. They see equity gaps and they try to fill the void. Leading peaceful protests for the killing of George Floyd, at the same time carrying burdens in a world that's very uncertain. When I'm looking at them, you can't tell me that they can't be surgeons, serving out of love, not for mass appeal, but helping inspire the youth while tutoring through Jack and Jill. Look at these brilliant scholars. That's all fact. These are tomorrow's leaders. No cap. I've learned so much from you. Some of you are in classes, classifying, mastering math and science, balancing, serving the community while balancing with a rigorous course load, and you didn't get fed up. Some of you have lost family members and you still walk with your head up. And for that, we salute you. My success, our success is tied to your future, and I couldn't be more excited about that. You are truly the embodiment of the ancestors, and I am proud of you, and I'm sure they are proud of you right now. So give yourselves a round of applause. I am excited to be in your presence today because I didn't always have the mindset of a dream achiever, a person who is persevering through the challenges. I remember like it was yesterday. Me being a senior in high school, when I was supposed to be cultivating my dreams that I was going to be taking my mind to, the next steps, being the best yet, making my mother smile in excess, planning for the senior trip, let's just say that I was concerned with being the best dressed and seemed to slip. And those decisions led to me where my dreams were clipped of its wings, and I was seeing where men's hands were gripped and tied, and we were all walking in a single file line. We were wearing the same clothes, and it wasn't a singing group. And at that moment, I thought that my dreams were through. Repeat after me. Things change. I remember leaving that dark place, being arrested my senior year in high school. And I took my amazing 2.1 GPA, and I went to Northern Illinois University. My first week on campus, I became the Black Student Caucus representative for my dorm. My second week on campus, I became the minority representative for the Black Student Union's Hospitality Committee. My sophomore year, I pledged Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, where I became the Brother of the Year and the president of the chapter, and my chapter was Chapter of the Year. But I didn't stop there. Then I became the vice president of the Black Student Union, but I didn't stop there. Then I became the vice president of the student government, where I was responsible for 117 different student organizations. But I didn't stop there. I then became the president of the student government, where I had to manage a $5.5 million budget and a $3.5 million transportation budget for the city of DeKalb. Would you all agree that something must have changed from that moment when I was in that cell to where we are today? Would you all agree with that? Yes or yes? Yes. I'm going to share some of the techniques and strategies that have allowed me to walk in my purpose. Now, some of you may be wondering, why did I start this conversation off this way? You all are seemingly living your dreams right now. Successful, receiving awards, you're getting scholarships. Well, what I didn't share with you was prior to me almost fumbling the ball and creating a nightmare for myself, me getting into Kingwood Academy, which was my high school, was my dream. That dream required the work of my mother, my parents, my brothers. It was an investment that I almost fumbled. So I say this: do not get so comfortable with your current successes that it allows you to over-celebrate, that it allows you to become comfortable, that it allows you to embrace actions similar to Brian's that were rooted in insecurities. Comfort is similar to a jail cell. Raise your hand real quick if you know someone who works just hard enough not to get fired. Look around, right? We all know that person, right? But they're not in this room, though, let's be clear. It can temporarily feel all comfortable. Never be okay with being the best of the worst and the worst of the best, because it can lock you into a lifestyle. It can lock you into an economic status. It can lock you into a level of powerlessness that will feel like prison when you realize how difficult it is to get out of it because you haven't continued fighting and continued to invest in yourself. I still remember the day that I got out of prison, the day that I got out of jail my senior year in high school. And I had the most amazing experience that day that changed my life. But before I get into that, repeat after me. Perspective, matters. Perspective, matters. Once upon a time in a small village, there was a child who was born with an amazing ability to ride horses. He seemed destined to be a jockey. And because he was born with this gift, everyone in the village would see him and look at him and say, "Wow, you're so blessed. You are so lucky." After having trained and trained, this young boy became a young man, and one day, while practicing, he fell off that horse and shattered his leg. This incident was devastating because it seemed like it would derail his dreams of being a jockey. there was a monk in the town. And while everyone would walk by initially saying he was so lucky, now everyone was walking around saying, look at you, you're cursed. You're so unlucky. And the monk would simply say, just wait and see. A year later, a war breaks out in this village. And because his leg was so severely damaged, he couldn't be a soldier. And in this war, he lost many of his friends. The people in the village would walk by him and say, you're so lucky. You're so blessed. And the monk would simply say, just wait and see. I truly believe that your perspective matters, and making sure that your perspective is not controlled by anyone around you while you're in the midst of your struggles or while you're in these situations where you're getting awards today. Your perspective and your ability to control your point of view is what's going to dictate how successful you are. I would implore everyone in this room to develop a philosophy that is going to help you when you're in your most challenging moments. My philosophy is everything that's happening to me is either preparing me for something better or protecting me from something worse. The universe is consistently conspiring in my favor. Once again, anything that happens to me is either protecting me from something worse and preparing me for something better. The universe is conspiring in my favor. Now, you can adopt that philosophy if it works for you, but I would recommend that you adopt some philosophy that's going to work for you when you're in the most dark and trying times. Now, let's get back to that moment when I finally was released from prison during my senior year. I remember like it was yesterday, I was walking out of 26th in California. Raise your hand if you ever heard of that place. You say, yep. Yep. And when I got out, there was no one waiting for me because in my mother's infinite wisdom, she decided that I was going to have to get myself home. So I started walking towards the bus stop. And I saw this elder trying to make eye contact with me. And of course I tried to look away. But every time I looked up, he was still looking at me. And he said, can I talk to you for a moment? He said, I know where you just came from. The question is, where are you going? And what's going to keep you from going back? That was the most horrible place that I'd ever been. And I decided I'm not going back there ever again. Yet, I didn't necessarily have a strategy in place or a plan that was going to keep me from backtracking. What he shared with me, I still hold on to this day. He pulled out a sharpened number 2 pencil. He said, I just have 4 things to say to you. First of all, if this pencil was alive, in order for it to live, it would have to go through a painful process. You may not enjoy the process that you're going through right now, but even a pencil must be resharpened in order to live with purpose. Pain or comfort often leads to growth, and if this pencil attempted to avoid every challenge or every resharpening process, it could not live with purpose. Next, he said, you see this eraser. Do not live your life afraid to make mistakes, like the mistake you just made. Never let your fear outwork your purpose, and ultimately there's no failure, there's only feedback. You'll be able to correct many of the mistakes that you make along the way if you don't allow it to make you give up. Raise your hand right now if you've committed yourself to never giving up on your dreams. That's the mindset, and understand that you will make mistakes, but there's always an eraser, and there is no failure. Only feedback. The next thing he said was, wherever you go, be deliberate and intentional about leaving a mark. Right now, you've already started to leave your mark on the world by service and by servicing others. Write your story. Write a story that will not only leave you empowered, but will improve your community and improve the world. I always say, make wherever you go different and better than it was when you arrived there. And what he said last still makes me shake to this day at times. He said, you see this pencil? The only thing that makes it work is the lead. He said, look at yourself. The only thing that's going to allow you to live with your purpose resides on the inside of you, not on the out. And you have to feed that inner person. You have to feed that inner spirit if you're ever going to be resilient and live your life with purpose. Even a pencil knows its job. Do you? And are you feeding that inner person and feeding that inner spirit in order to really go out and impact the world? Now, then what I want to share with you all next is really not for everyone in the room. It's really just for the scholarship recipients. So if you're not a scholarship recipient, can you close your ears or maybe stop paying attention? Because I want to be a little transparent today. Sometimes I get worried about the future. I get worried about it because at times we, the so-called adults, attempt to act as if we have all the answers. We've left you in a world filled with corporate greed, increased violence, food deserts, political silence. You've inherited a world where the capitalists only look to capitalize on lies and then try to feed them to you. Mother Nature is no longer natural, and actual food is all made in the lab, and that's factual. Someone's benefiting off of making us take sides, throwing gasoline on the racial divide. It's getting crazy out here. But I'm only comforted by the fact that I study history. History teaches me that it's always been about you. It's always been the youth who have been the revolutionaries. So policing the police, it will be you. Leading the spiritual revolution, it will be you. Creating a more inclusive world where differences are not just tolerated but celebrated, it will be you. And if women are ever going to take their rightful place where they are respected and protected, it will be you. You have to be the revolutionaries. Be in the world, but not of it. Be above it. Lead it to the top of the summit by doing something different and better, whether private or public. Lead the revolution and see through the confusion, whether right or left, conservative or liberal. Empathetic communication and understanding is pivotal. Old or young, never hold your tongue, speak life and be the example. Be the boldest one. Live with purpose. Look way beneath the surface. Cultivate those dreams, give it life and then birth it. It'll be worth it. Trust me, it'll be worth it. I have a quick question though, and it may seem weird. Raise your hand if within the last 24 hours you've taken a shower or a bath or a wash up. My mom used to call it something different, but we're not getting into that today. But raise your hand if you've taken a shower, a bath, or a wash up within the last 24 hours. Of course, right? Because we all know that there's germs every day. We produce our own level of germs. And you can never rely on last week's, I hope, you can never rely on last week's shower to keep you fresh today. Well, your brain works the same way. Every day we're bombarded with negative images, negative messaging, the haters, co-workers, unsupportive family members, negative communities, right? And we need motivation and specific strategies that we have to implement in order to deal with that. We can't rely on last week's motivation to get us through today. We can't rely on last week's information to keep our minds clean today. So I would say proactively require your mind to see something positive, whether it's finding a peak performance coach like myself, an accountability partner, a positive playlist, a gratitude journal. Just make sure that you do something daily in order to reinvigorate the positivity in your minds because you deserve it. I leave you with this quote by the great Denzel Washington. Dreams without goals are just dreams that fuel disappointment. On the road to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but more importantly, consistency. Because without commitment, you'll never start. But without consistency, you'll never see your goals, and you'll never live your dreams. Quick question. Raise your hand if today You either learned something new or was reminded of something that you know you're going to implement into your lives. For that, I would like for you to all stand up and give a round of applause to Molina Healthcare for bringing me in today. You know, have a seat. I do leave you with one more warning. On the road to achieving your dreams, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be those who are going to attack you. There are going to be those who are not going to be working in your favor, and I call them dream thieves. How do you build a dream? How do you build the steam that powers your engine, allows you to go inward? They say that self-esteem is like wealth to a king, but when it melts, it seems to erase what the blessings can bring. Reactions from thieves in the night, or are they crooks in the day? They just don't look that way. A fiend with the pipe, looking for the origins, the lost souls, the thoughts of a loser that was born to win. Dream thieves, don't blame them. They can't force their friends not to see the course to the end, but what they can do is underhandedly, you can't plant a seed under your canopy and it's ready done candidly, is covert. They want to mess with your magic, using tricks up their sleeves like Inspector Gadget. Yes, it's tragic. They'll lead you down the wrong path. Those short thoughts will distract you from that long cash. Life's a marathon dash and a walk at the same time. Filled with booby traps that can distract the sane mind. Feel success is map or react to a gang sign. These are just the facts. I run laps to retrain my mind. I spend my time dodging negative words. They like bullets. They lodge in whenever they're heard. And my dreams will get on the pessimist's nerves. So I'm plotting with the best of them. The rest of them get left on the curb. They say that a village raises a child, but how is that allowed when many are acting wild? It takes class to graduate. They'll have you skipping periods. How are you going to write your essays? You forgetting your periods. Your dream is what I'm leery of. Your team is never serious. And I'm wondering, are y'all ever curious? Because everything's a joke while the devil stays laughing. It's crazy. Where's the straitjacket? Dream thieves. They take whatever you were birthed to do, your purpose in life, and whatever it's worth to you. I've seen a beautiful young genius with a plan in her soul, told to remove clothes and dance on a pole, and it wasn't from a man that was old. It was her friends, because they'd rather see her fail than expand on her own. Dream thieves. They're effective in their movements, move with the best of us, distract us from improvements. While they smiling, you better watch what they say to you, cater to not what they say is true, but the way they move. They play a few games, passive aggressive, with the focus to get you off your path and your lessons. They say you are right. You think you're so perfect. You think you're so smart. You should get off of that nerd biz. We all know how the haters talk. Ain't never been in our shoes, but will tell you the way to walk. If you the boss, you better pay the cost. Put the key in your engine and start taking off. I'm breaking off a few gems because lies start when the truth ends. So I'm going to drop facts and proof then, so listen close. A wise man once said that your enemy will eventually lose steam if you focus on your winning streak. And since I can control which memory or present to focus on, if I end up weak, then my enemy's my inner me. You see, that's what the picture painted. 1,000 words. Essential training, mental raising. Hit the pavement, get your payment, and dodge fools who get their payment through enslavement and robbing you. They're dream thieves. You just heard from Algenoy Alexander, the father to Anaya Wisdom and a Sadic God. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kolade Balagoon. I am going into my 4th year at Howard University studying architecture. I just had the amazing pleasure of listening to Mr. Algenoy speak. He spoke about motivation, inspiration, perspective, all types of things to really keep our minds in and on a successful path. For me, the biggest takeaway was taking our success and living in our moments, living in our success, but knowing that this is not the end. This is just the beginning, and don't take too much pride in what we're doing right now because there's still much to be done. And so I really appreciate Mr. Algenoy on changing my perspective on like seeing a victory as just a victory and it's just that. No, it's one victory in my path to many more. Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Benji Malcolm, the proud mother of Kolade Balagoon. I am here at the Millennia awards, COVID-19 award ceremony where he received a scholarship. And I had the pleasure of being a witness to the speaker, Mr. Alexander, who, although he was here to speak to the recipients, what his message was spoke to me about my dream that I deferred to be the mother that I felt I needed to be for my children. So I want to thank him as a mother of a recipient to be able to share his story and reignite my fire to go on to continue to pursue my dream of achieving my doctorate degree. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kennedy Studemeyer, and I just heard Mr. Alexander speak. I loved his speech. I thought it was extremely motivational, captivating, and it made me feel very seen and heard throughout this whole experience.
I'm Andrea Taylor, and I heard Mr. Alexander speak as well. As an educator, it was very motivating and allowed me to be inspired and reminded of that my dreams matter and I can do anything that I need to do to achieve those dreams.
Hi, I'm Tyrone Studemeyer, Senior Vice President of Hyatt Hotel Corporation. I've heard a lot of speeches, but Mr. Alexander's speech today was very much on point, direct, deliberate, intentional, inspirational, and encouraging for those to dream and the impossible dream. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. We appreciate you.
Hello, my name is Valerie Studemeyer, and Mr. Alexander's speech was definitely the wow factor of the afternoon. He brought personality. He convinced us that change matters and that just keep living your dreams and never count anyone out.
My name is Edward Washington III. I'm going to be a rising freshman in college. I enjoyed hearing Mr. Alexander speak primarily because what his speech meant to me is as much success as I have. A lot of that also makes my parents really proud. So moving forward, I want to have enough success in my life that I can give back to my community and reach a point where for the next generation, their successes are also mine. So his speech meant a lot to me and I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit tired, but it definitely kept me more than awake and gave me the energy I needed. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorinda Dodgen. I'm the Associate Vice President of Community Engagement for Molina Healthcare of Illinois. It was such a pleasure and an honor to have Algenoy Alexander be our keynote speaker. This is our very first scholarship banquet. We have not had any other, so when I thought about who would be an amazing speaker, who would be someone that could touch students, who would be someone that not only the students but also the parents and everyone in between would be able to understand and relate to, it was Algenoy. And he came through hitting on every cylinder. So I am so proud, I'm honored, I'm humbled that he accepted my request and he came out and he made his presentation personable. I read each student's scholarship application and he made sure that he honed in on the special gifts of all the students. So again, thank you, Algenoy, for blessing us with your gifts.